In this first lesson dedicated to geometry nodes in Blender, we're going to see what are the differences uh, compared to the classic or standard way to use a 3D modeling application. And also we will see some similarities with other tools in Blender. So you can see here I created some copies of an object using the nodes and using like default and standard methods like modifiers, and we're gonna see again what's the difference and why we should use and learn how to use nodes in Blender, geometry nodes. So let's get started by creating a new file. So I'm going to go here, new general, and we're going to start here with a simple cube, and we're going to go now in geometry nodes visualization or interface so we can see better. And so what we're going to do is again make a really simple example on why we should use what's the advantage in using the nodes. Now the advantage, the most important advantage is that we can always go back and forward using the nodes because they're going to give us a set of parameters and values that we can always manipulate and without never disrupting, without losing information. We can always retrieve the information instead of like losing what we are doing, the actions that we're going to do in our work. So that's the main purpose. Now to make this a little bit more visually understandable, I'm going to create just a copy of this. So also want to activate the screencast keys so you can see what's happening here. So now usually if I want to, let's say, do a simple copy, I want to just copy this object. I would do in Blender, I would do Control C and then Control V. It's really basic, really simple. And then if I want to move this cube, I will just go here in the transform tools on the left and just use the move and then do like this. Or I can expand the sidebar again and go into the item section, and you can see here I've moved this cube in the epsilon axis. So I can do it from here. And this is what it means to be non-destructive. This is what it means to go back and forward. I can always go back here and change this value, change this parameter, and rearrange the scene. So this is non-destructive. I can always go back here and change that. So we can define this to be like a parametric object because I can also change the scale and the actual dimensions, and well, that's pretty much it. Now in Blender, we don't have many parameters that we can go back to, so these are not like, this is not a fully, let's say, parametric modeler, but we do have some stuff that we can always retrieve. I can always go back in here and go to the initial situation, which is 2 meters, 2 meters, 2 meters. So this can be called like parametric modeling, when I model through the parameters. And also I can access here in the object panel on the right, I can access the parameters for this cube, and I can always come in here, go back and forward, and retrieve this information. Now the other way, if I don't, let's imagine that I don't have this sidebar and I don't have these values here. Let's bring this back to the modifier. So if I move this back and forward, let's say I move it here and then I move it back here. Now the other way we can do this, kind of going back and forward in time in Blender and in other software, is to go in the history. So if I go here in the menu, edit, and I go here, I can see the history. So to go back and forward, I can come in here, or I can also use the Control Z and Control Shift Z to go forward. So Control Z goes back, Control Shift Z goes forward, or in other application we use Control Epsilon, but not in Blender. And of course, this is going to be, for the Mac, is going to be Command instead of Control. So, well, this is another way we can retrieve the information, retrieve what we have done before. But there is a but. If I save this, or let's say I don't save it and I reopen, I lose all the information. But if I save this, let's say I save this as untiled, okay? And I save it here. And then I close this. close this scene and reopen another one. So let me just open another scene like this, okay? And then again, open this untitled, okay? So I close and reopen. If I go to the undo, there is no more history here. So I will not be able to go back on what I have done. I lost all the process that I've done. Now, this is a simple process, just a copy and paste, but let's imagine you did something way more complex. You lose everything, you lose the process. You don't lose the geometry. Geometry is right here, but you lose the process. You lose all the steps, all the things you have done, except for the one that you find in the history, but they're gone because when you close and reopen, the RAM is gone and you will not find those. The only thing you can retrieve is the information you put in here or in the object. Everything else will be gone. So nodes can help you maintain that information in there so you can retrieve it anytime. If I open up again my other scene here, you can see that I have the values are stored in the nodes. I have the values right here. So in this case, it's the possibility to change here the well, this is the duplicate. So I can, for example, change the amount of duplicates and the position essentially. And I can always go back. But this is a simple thing, but just to help you understand the difference between the standard way and the nodes way. So if I go now back to the untitled, okay, so how do I do the same thing with the nodes? Well, at first it's going to be more complex, but again, then it's going to be better when I close and reopen my work. It's going to be better, but at first it's going to be a little bit overwhelming for those of you who never done it. Or also, if you having problems with simple things in Blender, you can check the Blender video course, and we also have other Blender video courses in the channel. So by now you should know Blender very well if you want to move on. So what I'm going to do is here in the geometry nodes interface, create a new one. So when I create a new one, it goes in the modifiers because we already saw before that geometry nodes are essentially a type of modifier in Blender, and it appears right here. And then it's empty. Now it's an empty process right now. We just have an input and an output, but nothing is happening here. Now to make a new node, we can do Shift A, and we can search for something here, or we have a list of nodes that we can add. Or we can go here and do add node directly from this menu. Now, personally, I prefer to do Shift A because we also have the search, which is really handy when we don't really know what we are looking for, especially if we are not expert. Now, everything is divided here into specific, sections. So you have inputs, outputs, and then you have curves, meshes. So everything is well organized. But it's going to be difficult the first time to find something that you want just by going here and exploring all here. So there are a lot of nodes. You don't need to know them all. You need to understand the logic. You need to understand how to use them, and then you can go a little bit by yourself. But in the beginning, just trust the teacher and follow up. So I'm going to do Shift A. Sorry, not Shift S, but Shift A. And I'm going to search. I'm going to search for something that can create a copy. So I would go like logically typing copy, and you don't see anything that could be useful right here. So maybe it's not the right word. So other possible words are instances, which are type of copy. Or another way we can do this is duplicate. Well, that's duplicate. Usually when you have an operation that it's called like this in Blender, you usually have it also with the same words in the nodes. So duplicate is going to duplicate the elements that we want to duplicate. Now you can see I can move now the node around. If I roll over this green link, is going to activate, it's going to become white. it means that if I click in there, that node is gonna go directly between the input and the output. And now something strange happens. Well, something we don't really are accustomed to when we're working with standard Blender, and that is what are these things around? I'm just moving the cursor here. What are these points? Well, this is because we are kind of reading the geometry, and we are deciding which elements of this geometry we want to duplicate. And in this case, we want to choose not points, but we want to choose faces. So we want to actually duplicate a visible geometry, not points that are, you know, monodimensional, not three-dimensional. Okay, and then I can say, okay, I want to create like 4 copies, but nothing is happening here because those copies are being duplicated inside that geometry. So if I do one, we can see here also in this spreadsheet view, we can see what's happening here in terms of vertices and faces. And you can see that they are multiplying if I increase the amount, but nothing is really visible here because they are multiplying and staying in the same position. So what we need to do is create an offset to move them around. And to do that, we need another node. And again, you probably don't know which node is, but it's fine. We're just doing here a kind of a demonstration of the nodes. So we're going to hit again Shift A, and we're going to look for position because we want to reposition. So, logically, I will look for transform or move or position. And there's a read. Read means that we are reading the information. So it's more like for analysis. And write is when we want to do something. So we want to do something to that geometry. So I'll probably go with this set position. And now if I go here again, it's going to bring it and put it between these 2 other nodes. If I put it in another part of this dashboard, like let's say here, I need to do the linking myself. So I need to click here with the left mouse and drag and put it in here, and then take it from here and put it in here. So again, it's a system of input, output every time we need to input something or we need to output something. Okay, now again, nothing is happening. So we have down here some x, epsilon, and z values. If I start messing around with this, we can see that our cube is starting to move. But again, everything is moving together. So it's like we have a set of elements, but they are all moving together. So to tell him, okay, don't move everything together, but let's like differentiate with an index, we need to use this duplicate index. So I'm gonna again do Shift A, and this time I'm gonna search for a combine node, which is gonna combine the vector in x, epsilon, and z. Okay, so this is gonna now be my offset. So I'm gonna put this into the offset. Okay, and you can see now it's going to 0, 0, 0. And again, if I move this, I won't see the copies. But if I say, okay, let's take this and let's use it like for the epsilon. Okay, now what's happening is I start to see something, but it is not quite understandable. Maybe if I go into wireframe, you can see the copies, but now it's like in the geometry view, they are like merging together. This is because, sorry, the offset is kind of preset here into one value, and I can only move the other 2, but again, they're gonna move everything together. So let's put this 0, 0, and let's find out how we can manage the epsilon a little bit better. And I need another node, and this time it's gonna be a multiply node, which is kind of a mathematical operation that we do. And you can see we have a lot of multiply here. And even further on, we have more. Oh, it's not going to be a UV sphere. When you have a problem, you see this will become red. And also, when you have a diamond, you have more values. When you have a circle, you have a single value. I'm going to delete that. So here we have multiple values because we have more duplicates. I can also do something else. I can click and drag this into this node. If I put it here, okay, now something is happening, as you can see. Okay, but nothing really that we can use. So if I want to unlink, click and drag. So if I can also click and drag above the node, and that's going to ask me what I want to do in here. So again, I can combine, or I can do something else, or I can search. Let's search for multiply, and now we have multiply right here. So we are taking these values, we're bringing in here, and then we are taking this value again, and we are bringing it into the epsilon. So now you can see I can work with the epsilon value only using this other node, setting up a value right here. And this is what we are creating right now. We are creating a system where I can handle this. I can also copy and paste the modifier here. So I can do here duplicate. So I can duplicate this. And if I duplicate it, it's just going to add more cubes. And I can also copy and paste this into another object. Let's use the Suzanne character. So I'm going to go to add mesh monkey. And this is going to be the monkey head. And if I want to use this modifier, just as I do with any other modifier, I can copy this and paste it into the monkey. Now, the easiest way to do is select the monkey first, select with the shift key, select the object, which is going to be our source second. So you can see this is now the active object is where we have the nodes, and then the secondary object is the monkey. And then I'm going to do Control L. And this is to link and transfer data from active to the target. And I'm going to say, okay, copy the modifiers in there. So you can see we took those modifiers and copy it into the other object. So this is also really handy when we want to do the same thing for more objects. And then I can delete one, for example. So this is also, I want to show you here. If I go to the cube and I transform the first cube, that transformation will be applied also to the others. So this is why duplicating is handy. And again, usually we use nodes when we have a lot of objects that we want to manage together. So we want to, like, when we want to change something, we don't want to go one by one, but we want to do it just once. So it's going to be longer at the beginning, but then it's going to make us gain time in the end when we need to go back and forth and, change things. This is, why we use procedural modeling like this instead of like standard modeling usually. But in this case, we do have already, if I go to the monkey here and delete this, we do have already a modifier to do this. So if I go here, add modifier, and go to generate, I can use the array. So array already creates copies, already moves them into a direction, which could be x, epsilon, and z. So what we can say is that basically the geometry nodes are just like a customized modifier that we can create rather than using the ones that are already here. But if there is something already here, there's no need to do it in the geometry node. Well, you can do it if you want, but and we did it here just to see the, again, differences and similarities. But there are some sort of things that you are already, they are already available in Blender. So I hope now you understand a little bit better why we use nodes in general, but we're going to do more examples, more videos. So subscribe to stay updated, join the channel if you want to support us. Go and check our other video courses in the channel about Blender and digital sculpting Blender, architecture in Blender. So thanks for watching. See you in the next.